Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Let's do this. Welcome back to the Switch Pivot or Quit podcast. I'm your host, Ayana Angel, and this is a space where we get candid with our conversations around professional and personal development so that we can help you get the courage and the clarity that you need for your next chapter. If you have never been here before and never shared space with us, welcome. And if you've been around and you're not new to this, you're true to this, welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you here. Today we're going to be talking with someone who I greatly enjoyed sharing space with. She made a huge professional pivot, and I want to get into what her story looked like and how she nailed that pivot. The she that I'm speaking of is Kara Brothers, the president of Starface. You know, those iconic star-shaped pimple patches that have completely changed the game on how Gen Z thinks about pimples, acne, their skin, and being in public with said acne. But here's the plot twist. Kara didn't start out in beauty. She actually spent 15 years in tech working at places like Google and leading Grid AI, another tech company, through a $15 million Series A funding round, all while earning her MBA. Eventually, she went on to make this career-changing leap to Starface, and we'll hear more about that in our chat. But that is a space where I feel like she really found her footing. She's been able to mastermind these in-demand product launches, expand the brand internationally, and help the company create a culture that feels vibrant, fun, approachable, just like their products. Under Kara's leadership, Starface has been able to do some pretty remarkable things. Number one, they turned acne from something that people hide into something that they sort of celebrate. And if nothing else, they are definitely more comfortable with it than ever. So if you've ever wondered how to pivot industry successfully, lean into your inner knowing and break out of that career rut that may be holding you back, you're gonna want to listen to what Kara has to say. Let's get into it. Kara, welcome to the Switch Pivot or Quit podcast. How are you feeling today?
Oh, thank you, thank you. I love to be here. I love switch pivots all the time. I'm feeling great. I got a lot to be thankful for. So I'm anchoring on that.
I've been researching you, finding out more about you. You are super impressive in a very relatable and humble type of way, which I appreciate. So I would love to know, if you had to describe yourself in a couple words, how would you describe yourself? And how do you think other people would describe you?
Coming in hot. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. How would I describe myself? Well, I'm ever evolving and I'm ever changing, right? And so, like, I have to use a word that encompasses that because why I'm so interested to talk to you is that I am inherently really interested in that switch and in that pivot for myself. So I'll say one is I'm adaptable. Two is I am genuinely sincere. I really believe in human beings. So there's something really genuine about just a baseline level of wanting to understand and wanting to see people and be seen for exactly
Mm,
who we are, or at least who we're trying to be. I am honest and direct, and don't have a lot of like mental space for negativity, kind of things like, yeah, I'll just say gossip or unnecessary frustrations and tension. So I'm kind of like, let's get past all that and keep it moving a little bit. Yeah.
I love that. How do you think other people would describe you? And that could be in the office, that could be at home, your friendships. How do you think they would describe you?
Oh my goodness. I love that. It's almost like scary to think about. But, I'm like this thing of being perceived is, the new thing online. And I try to think less about that if I'm honest. But as I'm learning, our superpowers are usually also our weaknesses in some way. So I'll
Hmm.
say because I love change, I think people would say I'm kind of a change agent. I can see the future and see things, way past where people usually are.
Mm,
However, I think on the flip side, people might say I'm kind of scatterbrained, maybe indecisive, Maybe like I'm not great at going deep in the details because I'm really up here bouncing from big topic to big topic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also genuinely like here to enjoy my life as best as I can. So I think people would say I'm fun and I'm like outgoing. But on the flip side, again, is that like I kind of pick and choose where I can light that up. And so people might say that there's like a flakiness where it's like I might not respond to you just because you hit me up immediately. Like I kind of take my time with stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's kind of what's coming to mind.
Yeah, I feel like you are so self-aware. And self-awareness is one of those things that people talk about and they throw around that word now. It's one of those like trendy terms, but I think that where you really dig in on that is the things that can be perceived as positives and negatives. And I think sometimes people think that they're self-aware because they know the positives about themselves. But what about the things that might not be perceived
Yeah.
as a positive? And I'm wondering, have you always been in tune in this type of way, or did it take some time for you to develop sort of like this trust and understanding of yourself?
Oh, so beautiful. Thank you for asking that. And I love that for all of us. You know, my truth is I've always been this way. Even as a child, I would lean on like grounding practices always as a young person. And I would dig into in high school, I would be reading deep texts like Eckhart Tolle and some of this stuff with my friends. However, that got lost. I think it got lost when I went to college, which was a rigorous academic environment. Not that my high school wasn't, but it was just different.
Hmm.
And then I encountered, you know, more bad grades, a lot of different kinds of people who I wasn't interacting with on a day-to-day basis. And then I entered corporate America and wasn't necessarily thriving in that way. And so it definitely went darker
Mm.
for a nice 2 decade, 15-year period. And
Hmm.
now it's all reemerging again in a new way, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's a beautiful cycle that we don't expect, can't plan for, but we got
Yeah.
to appreciate it and love it.
Exactly. Exactly. And like trust the process, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Okay, so you said, and this is why I'm gravitating to you because you said something that I feel like people don't want to say. Everyone wants to paint the picture that they are the best at everything. That yes, they may have made some mistakes and they've learned some things there along the way. And oh, I have these lessons. I don't think of them as mistakes, I think of them as
Yeah.
lessons. But I'm here now, and you could rightfully say, yes, I'm here now.
Yeah.
But you said, I wasn't necessarily thriving in corporate America in my career that I was in, and that in the way, the direction maybe that you were going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit more about that. What did that feel like? Did you have some moments where you're just like questioning it all? And when you say, like, I wasn't necessarily thriving, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so much there. What I do want to call out that is back to that superpower flaw, dual sides of all of us, is that my approach that is grounded and humble maybe hasn't served me and might not serve me for my next phase because I do believe like no I'm learning I'll say that no one is going to think you're that beep unless you know that within yourself and speak that out. And so it's definitely something that I'm growing to as well, where it's like, yo, I have a lot to offer. And it is flaws and all, absolutely. But that does not diminish this absolute high caliber that I'm bringing. So it is this, as we're getting to know each other, it is always this layers and this nuance that just is I'm really passionate about.
Because you're honest when you say something like, I wasn't
Right.
necessarily thriving, right? I feel like I have not heard those words come out of people's mouths, especially sitting in the type of position that you're sitting in, because there's an emphasis on, I made some mistakes, and they treat it like isolated incidents instead of I've grown to get to where I am, but maybe it wasn't always so pretty, my growth process either.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. That is coming from a place and a desire to serve others and a desire to progress the way that we think about so many things. But in that context, it's growth and climbing the corporate ladder and just speaking about that truthfully. Because my journey was really lonely when I was getting a horrible performance review and not meeting expectations. And I felt like I needed to hide that at the time. And you feel
Mm,
so bad about it. You feel so shameful and embarrassed when actually, A, sure, maybe there were things I needed to fix and grow from. That's fine. Two, there are also a lot of other factors going on in making these decisions, especially as in a huge corporate environment.
yeah.
So my point is that shedding light on things in general, rather than hiding and just like living in the shame, I believe is our future, if I'm honest with you. And it's definitely helped my future progress. So
Mhm.
that's my base case for speaking so honestly. But I can't lie, it's also because now people see me as this successful leader. So would I have
Mhm.
said this 5 years ago? I have absolutely no idea, probably, if I'm honest. But also I can't lie that there's a certain level of like confidence that others have in me now, that probably is serving me for sure.
A part of your story, and I want you to share a little bit of this as well, is that when someone believes in you, it gives you a different type of battery in your back. When someone looks at you and says, I think you can do this, and they maybe even see something in you that you haven't quite seen in yourself, or it's something like under the surface, but you
Yes.
haven't really tapped into it yet. Talk to me a little bit about what that transition was like from tech to beauty. And I'm sure there's elements of tech within the beauty space that you're working in right now with Starface. And just kind of talk to me about what that transition was like for you.
Yeah, yeah. So interesting. You're exactly right. I was trying to leave my big corporate job for several years because I knew I wanted to be in an entrepreneurial environment because I'm inherently a builder, back to adaptable. I like ambiguity. I like change. I like making hard decisions. That's just kind of in my DNA. But no one was really taking that chance on me, for years and years. Somehow I was still following what I knew I wanted, even in the face of so much rejection, because I also knew that I wasn't in the right place for me, AKA Google, in a very, very large corporate structured environment.
Mm.
So as I was searching for jobs, leaving tech, I met the founders of Starface, and that's exactly what happened. For one of the first few times in my professional life, Brian Bordanic was like, I think you can do this. Like let's see, let's figure it out, but let's go. And I was just like, thank you. I love this. I can do that. And you're totally right. Like it does give you that battery. Absolutely. But I think about like, what if you don't have someone take a chance on you? I don't know. And I think
Yeah.
about, yeah, yeah, I know. I know.
Like, and so many people don't have that.
They don't
And
have.
so it's like, what do you do and how do you pour into yourself in that interim? Because I do believe that most of us will encounter a time where somebody takes a chance on us, whether it's big or small. We have to just be able to see it. But, like, what do we do in that interim time when you were facing those rejections and not getting ahead, maybe? Air quotes,
Right, right.
like you thought you wanted to in those ways. What were you doing for yourself and how did you sort of like keep going?
Yeah, I really love that. You said something that was really interesting. You said big or small and being able to see the opportunities or the little glimmers. I was reflecting on our conversation and I was thinking that what I learned from Google and from Grid, the AI company I worked at for just a brief time, was this resiliency that I didn't even know that I was building, like we were talking about, because it was high stress sometimes, because I was sad sometimes and
Mm,
confused and lonely. I did have to develop tools. And some of those tools that have served me and will continue are developing a rich life outside of work, frankly, like have other places that fill you up, but also a really sound internal world. I've had some bouts of anxiety that it's so weird. It's almost gone away because I've done so much work to just develop myself and my
Mm,
self-worth, which is not something that was like talked about in my household when I was young. So I
same.
think, right? And it's so everything. So I'm a mom and I think about like, okay, I got to get this in your brain early. It's crazy because otherwise it's so easy to listen to other people and listen to the environment that you're in and determine your value and even determine your next steps. I was thinking about switching and pivoting, and I was just thinking like how easy it is to let inertia or safety or control keep us where we are, even though we know we want more. It's not right. And it's just because we feel like, okay, this is safe. I know this. And I've heard a lot of people talk about this on your podcast, but it's hard. It's still
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, it is. You have to face yourself in the mirror in a different type of way
There we go.
if you want to make those changes. And you have to, like, number one, you have to hype yourself up. But number two, you have to say to yourself, like, I have to trust myself that the decisions that I'm making are okay.
There we go.
And even if they don't always feel okay, like the results don't always feel okay, ultimately, I know that I'm always going to do what's best for my greater good. And
Yes.
I feel you when you say that as well, because like that is the position that I was sitting in. I didn't have my finger on the pulse of like what exactly I should be doing if I were to walk away from this role in sports PR and all of this, but I knew that I wasn't where I was supposed to be. And I think that is a start, right? As long as you know, like, this is not where I'm supposed to be, I don't feel this in my gut that this is where I'm supposed to be, then you can just take that from there and start pouring into yourself and figuring out, okay, well, if I know this much, I can start here, right? And then just go from there. So, how does instinct and your intuition play into your decision making, whether it be for your life and what's ahead for you, as well as your day to day with being the president of Starface?
Yeah, yeah. It's important and I'm also I think things are changing now, but intuition and that feeling, knowing that all of us have has been underappreciated. It's been termed as like woo woo or not logical. And I love that that's changing because the human experience, like knowing what you were talking about, knowing what's right, business instincts, I feel are not any different necessarily. So I do have a very strong intuition, a very strong gut sense. I can feel it in my body when something's feeling right or feeling wrong. And I can feel that with Cubans, relationships that I'm building at work. I can feel that with business decisions too. But that doesn't mean that I lean on that 100%. But I'm like, okay, this is kind of what you think. This is your gut. Let's like test that out. Let's talk to a bunch of people. Let's ask a bunch of questions. I'm definitely the type of leader that is very collaborative, which is, again, good and bad. But I like to hear what everybody has to say and just like let that filter through my psyche, kind of,
Hmm.
and then make that decision. But I don't shy away from intuition at all.
Talking about leadership, you've mentioned before that you had an idea of the type of leader that you wanted to be based on previous experiences. So, talk to me a little bit about like once you stepped into this role, what did you do to prepare?
Yes.
Like prepare yourself because I'm
Yes.
imagining that you knew this was an undertaking unlike anything you had really ventured into before. So, what did you do to prepare yourself for this grander stage of leadership, maybe let's say? And then, like, how do you sort of approach leadership right now in this moment? Because I know it's evolving.
Yeah, it was a huge transformation for me to go step into this role and want to do my absolute best day after day. The first thing that I did was I think networking and developing your network is something that I did not realize was so important until this role. And I'm talking, it could be friends, it could be your friend group. That are you in a do you have enough friends or one friend that you can call when you're upset in over your skis or anything? And then it is that professional network. And it should be some people who have done this before for sure, but it also doesn't need to be. It could be people who are more junior than you, but are maybe really creative and are great thought partners. So I did just start to build out this robust network of people that I could call on. And for me, I made sure that it wasn't just one type of person. It wasn't all women. It wasn't all CEOs, but I was just like, I know that I'm going to need people to help me. So that was something that I invested in early. Two is, of course, I had a therapist and a coach and all kinds of people who were helping me like get my own stuff together and make sure that I knew my gotchas. Like, where am I super insecure? For sure, so that I don't let that trip me up. Just something that I can notice, which I think is like one of my best things of knowing, because in the beginning, I was probably trying to overcompensate in some ways based on my previous experience. Like, okay, well, then I'm going to do this. And that didn't work. So I had to really learn how to be like Cara, the president, and not someone else, the president that I was trying to pretend to be, basically.
Ooh, yeah. How do you approach developing talent within your organization?
Hmm. That's one of my favorite things to do. I usually like to set some clear expectations, set the priorities, and then leave people alone. And my leadership style is more like thought partner in the kitchen. Let's go. I can be the decision maker, but that's kind of how I'm developing, and that's what's worked best for me too. Where it's less like, obviously, it's never a micromanaged kind of situation, but it's also not like I'm here if you need me, like ask me questions. It's, you can see how my brain is working, how I'm thinking about this. So let's workshop it together. And then hopefully that'll have you growing, not because you're trying to emulate me, but because we're in this dialogue and problem solving together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts around women in business right now? Are there any narratives that you're like, don't exactly agree with that?
Yeah. I'm here for all the leaders who are conscious, self aware, egoless, open minded leaders, women, men, whatever. But I know how hard it is for women to get in these positions. So I'm always gunning for them for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but I do believe that there can be a change in how leaders operate, and
Mm,
how they work. And I don't necessarily know that. I feel like sometimes when a woman gets into a leadership position, as I was when I was just starting out as the president of Starface, you're trying to emulate someone else, or you're pushing the same narratives of whatever example that have been around in the past. You know, you got to work a ton, work all the time, like, kind of with the iron fist. It's sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. That's the name of the game. Or, and I'm just like, I don't know if that's the future or if it needs to be the present either. And our whole conversation is about like both things being true. You can run a super profitable, capitalist business, but also uh understand that people work in different ways. They also work in different times. Getting the most productivity out of your people might mean different things for different people at different times of the day. So that flexibility of us as human beings, I feel like I'm not seeing that much of, which I'm happy to tell, basically.
yeah, I think that's why you are so refreshing because it doesn't feel like you're trying to check the boxes of the status quo of what a leader looks like and what a successful company looks like and what you have to embody to be the leader of a successful company.
Thank you.
And Starface is successful. So go ahead and pop your ish real quick and tell us how successful it is and what role you played in that.
I love that. Yeah, why not? Right? Okay, so
Yeah.
I was maybe the sixth, seventh, eighth employee at Starface. Um, I joined in basically a chief of staff role that was called the SVP of Strategic Initiatives or something, which was a title that I made up. And I started off organizing Dropbox, organizing town halls, and just kind of getting the infrastructure and the operations of the business together. That was about $5 million in revenue at that time. Since I've been running and leading the business, we've grown from that, single digit employees to around 50. We've grown from that 5 million to around $100 million in revenue. We turned from a not profitable business to a profitable business. And, we have a fairly happy, healthy work environment, fully remote. People live everywhere. There's different ages, different demos, and we're all doing this together. And, with that, of course, it's never just one person. We know that. There are founders are super involved in the business. Uh, like I mentioned, I have a absolute A team that does all of this, but I was leading the charge, which I am very proud to say.
As you should be. Okay, she did that. I love it. I
Absolutely.
love it. Yes. And that's one of those things that I feel, and I think we kind of touched on it before, that we don't
Yeah.
always give ourselves enough credit, especially when we're in the midst of things, because the power that we have and the amazingness that's within us, sometimes we can overlook it and take it for granted and think that this is normal. But honey, Kara, what you've done is not normal, okay? It is not normal. And I want to continue to see you get all of your flowers because you are doing things, to me, in my opinion, in a different way. And I love that. I love seeing how humble, but approachable, but boss, but all these things you embody all at the same time. And so I'm
Thank
sure
you.
your team enjoys working with you and getting to see all those facets as well.
I hope so, and I appreciate that. Absolutely. Every day I try to wake up being myself. As we
Yeah.
see all the quotes on Instagram, it's hard. I go through my own life cycle every day where I wake up, okay, I'm a little bit depressed. I'm a little something got on my nerves, something hurt my feelings. Okay, you got it, you got it. Meditate,
Mm-hmm.
work. It's the same. Okay, I'm feeling it. I did that, and then you're
Yeah.
back again. It's like that same cycle, but I'm proud of who I am, and I'm proud of what I'm doing.
You mentioned before, like during some of the tough times, you really leaned into creating this life around and for yourself outside of work that you could really lean into and feel good about. What does that look like for you now? I know you mentioned being a mom and all of those things, so I'm sure that keeps things hectic. But what does it look like to create this world outside of work for yourself?
Oh, fun. I love that. A couple of things. One is I do always like to have a passion project, something that I'm really pouring myself into that is fully, an expression of me and what I'm wanting to bring to the world right now.
Mm.
And that is basically all of these things that I'm learned and package it up into a membership community, into media and content, and not just me, not just you, but thinking about other people who don't have a platform, who have a lot of interesting things to say. How can I syndicate this? So I'm kind of, geeking out on that passion project, which you can find on my website. It's so much fun. But
What's
also,
your website? Wait,
let's
wait, wait.
let's do carabrothers.com. Check me.
Okay.
Thank you. I also am trying to have fun, if I'm honest, Ayana, where it's like, okay, who wants to hang out? Who wants to take a walk? I'm trying to just meet people, talk to people, talk about what's happening in the world outside of work, talk about the realness that's happening because it keeps me connected to all of us. Um, I'm also a member of other membership communities, like I am trying to up level always. And that can mean financially, that can just mean spiritually, that can mean learning about the world. So I always do to try to punch up a little bit. So I'm trying to network in that way as well. And then you can find me sleep on the couch Absolutely. Like I'm not running around. Like I definitely am chilling, watching TV with my kids. I love to eat. Uh, yeah, so just living, enjoying.
Okay. What's your favorite food?
Indian, Indian.
Ooh, me too. It's not my favorite, but ooh, I love some good Indian food
All the
too.
flavors. Oh my God. What's your favorite?
Ooh, see, I'm not big on being a favorites
It's
girly, like,
favorite.
because I don't like to be limited in that way. Like it may be one week that I'm all about the Mexican food, another week I'm all about the Thai food, but it's basically it comes down to like you said, the flavors. Whatever flavor is good, like, and I'm craving, I'm about it. Okay, my final question for you is, what does success feel like or look like for you?
Mm, yes. See, and when we were talking about examples of leaders and women leaders, I really love that you asked that because I feel like the definition of success is only money for a lot of us. And again, I'm not trying to discount money. Money is
Yeah.
great. But success for me looks like one, being myself in every single hour of the day that I can. Are the people that I'm talking to, are the spaces that am in, are they allowing me to show up as myself? Oh, that's so freeing.
Mhm.
Two is my time. Can I organize my time in a way that fills me up? And also, that doesn't mean I'm doing everything I like to do every minute of the day. But on average, do I not feel rushed around? Do I not feel like I'm, spending a lot of time doing things that are not serving what I want to serve? And so it's time and me being me right now. And also, I'll say travel. I'll say travel. Like I really want to explore too. So that's a luxury to me, and it absolutely would be successful is the more I can expose myself and my family to the
Yeah.
world.
That's like you said, it's a luxury and it's something that we don't often realize is so much of a luxury, but that's success in itself, I feel like, when you're able to do
Period.
those things. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Is there anything that we didn't touch on that is burning in your spirit and you've been like, "Oh, I really just wanted to talk about this," or "I really just wanted to say this and get this off my chest." Anything we didn't touch on that you want to touch on?
Oh my gosh. Not much, but I'll say this. So I have been in my content creation era, in my trying to codify, my learnings, my voice, just my take on things more. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me and just be like, "Whoa, you don't get to see people who are one thing in the public eye trying to do something else too." And that never really I never really thought about that, but when I think about your audience and you bringing a lens of switching and pivoting, where I'm learning that a lot of people feel boxed in to the one role or the one job or the one way that people are viewing them. And my message right now is just that's not true, in my opinion. And I know that it's not easy for people to have projects on the side because you might lose their job. So I'm not saying
Yeah.
anything about what you should do, but just start to explore where you feel like you're boxed in because that might just be something that you're putting on yourself.
Mm, mhm. That's a word. I love it. I love it. That's a great place to wrap this conversation up. Cara, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you. I love this conversation. I'm super appreciative of being on your podcast.
Of course, of course. And as always, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I hope that you're able to lean into the things that Cara was saying and just realize that you have everything you need already and you don't have to search externally for it. Just lean into it. Don't put yourself in those boxes. Just be free. Be free in everything you do. And as always, be well.